Looks like we are on. So welcome everyone. We are on with our Cal State University Los Angeles College of Education team. And we are glad that you are here. And my name is Ruth Ellis. I am one of the administrative team members from the CPTP program with the Center for Collaborative Education and partnering with the Teach for LA conference. And you're here with the Grow Your Own Teacher Pathways workshop, a cross-system approach to grow your own teacher pathway. And I would like to welcome our esteemed colleagues, Anna Zambrano, Dr. Veronica Gonzalez, Dr. Socorro Orozco, and Dr. Agustin Cervantes. So with that, I am going to turn it over to this amazing team, and I will be just kind of hanging out, enjoying this, and also tech support as needed. So welcome, everyone. Tell us how you're doing today. Introduce yourselves in the chat. And we welcome people raising their hands, calling out if they need to, just answering questions or asking questions and putting them in the chat. So we love responsiveness from all of you.
Thank you so much for having us, Ruth. Thank you all for being here. My name is Anna Zambrano. I'm the recruitment advisor for the College of Education. We're going to go over the agenda very quickly, and then we'll share a little bit of information. I am looking at the chat and seeing some people that are looking for a PK3 credential. Awesome. It's really good to see where everybody's coming from or looking to explore. Let's go through the agenda now. So we're going to meet the team very quickly. From there, we're going to talk about the teacher pathways, the goals for K through 16, which is elementary through high school, college, the partnership at a glance, and then we're also going to talk about the teacher pathways at Cal State LA. Now, in the room, and Ruth has already introduced us, but I'll have Dr. Cervantes, Dr. Gonzalez, and Dr. Orozco introduce themselves, and then we'll go from there. We have it listed in alpha order, by the way. So Dr. Cervantes can go first, just introduce himself, say hello, and then we'll move forward.
You want me to start on now?
Yeah, we'll just say hello.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. It's Ruth, thank you for introducing us and bringing us together. Name's Agustin Cervantes, Director of Student Services for the College of Ed. It would be great and grand if all of our guests would just introduce themselves on the chat, include where you're attending schools, the programs you're prospectively interested in, and more importantly, tell us about yourselves. One of the things we pride ourselves at Cal State LA is in being a campus for the community. We do take to heart the opportunity to work with each and every one of the students that comes to us under the mantra of getting you through a program that works for you, letting you go through a type of recruitment and training preparation for teaching, so that from within your community, you can go back and contribute to that community. And we take stock of your specific background and all identifiers of it, right? So we want to make sure that you feel ready and prepared, that you're tapping into all forms of capital about yourself. And more importantly, that we're also working in partnership with the schools, districts, community organizations, as well as those members of the community that are looking to contribute towards the advancement of those respective communities. So we're happy to be here. We're happy to contribute with Teach LA and of course the Community Partnership for Teacher Pipeline. So yeah, I guess everyone else introduce yourselves.
Dr. Gonzalez.
Hola, buenas tardes. Glad to be in this space with you all. I'm an assistant professor of bilingual education, so I'll be sharing a little bit more about the bilingual pathways options at Cal State LA.
And then we have Dr. Orozco.
Hi, buenas tardes a todos. I'm Socorro Orozco, and I am an assistant professor of math education at Cal State LA as well. And I will be sharing some information about our secondary math and science credential programs because we need you. The whole world needs you. So even if for 1 second you've thought about getting a credential in math or science to teach high school, we are here for you. So nice to meet you. Nice to see you all.
Thank you, Dr. Orozco. Thank you, everyone. My name is Zambrano. Like I said, I'm the recruitment advisor for the college. So I work with all students, starting from those that are coming in as first years to transfer students to our graduate students. So I work with all students coming into Cal State LA, particularly in the College of Education, those that are interested in teaching or other education-related fields. So I am super excited to share a little bit about what we do here at Cal State LA. Just a little bit about the College of Education in particular. We work to develop skilled and caring educators, counselors, educational leaders. So that includes principals, that includes administrators, and then we work in at all grade levels, right? From kindergarten through 12th grade at the for elementary to high school. And we have a lot of people also that work in higher education with master's degrees as well. So I am going to turn it over to Dr. Cervantes, who will be talking about the teacher pathway programs a little bit. And then we have quite a few options that work with our goals to develop and to support educators in all areas, like I said. Dr. Cervantes?
Thank you, Ana. And so just from reading the chat, I see that we have a lot of folks who are attending community colleges in our local LA basin. And by that, we mean a large, space, all the way from the Antelope Valley down south to Rio Hondo, Cerritos, etc. And so what's great to see Pasadena, and you're transferring, Cindy, to Cal State LA. It's great to see that. And what we want everyone to understand is that we do build, in our college, we design, implement, and evaluate pathways and options for students to either start with us as first-year students, to transfer and complete a pathway with us, or to complete a credential as a post-baccalaureate student. As a College of Education, and as to sort of tail on what Anna shared, we have a portfolio of over 50 programs and options. And in some ways you can see it as a professional college that offers a career ladder, if you will. So you can finish your bachelor's, add a credential, add a master's, add an additional credential or authorization, and bundle as much preparation as you would like to bundle as you pursue any of these programs. I think for us, what's more important and what's more indicative of what we do is framing and grounding our programs in community, ensuring we establish partnership, that we have the features necessary for students to be able to effectively and efficiently complete their programs here with us. And then, of course, there's the recruitment and outreach piece, which involves presentations like this one. So we are here to answer questions. More importantly, we're here to advance both a college-going culture, but also completion of credentials in the teaching profession for the future workforce. Not a big fan of that word, but certainly for those that can transform the educational landscape, PK through 16. Sorry, Anna's working the slides, so I'm sort of waiting for when she clicks on it. We certainly, our outreach and recruitment mantra here is to expose and reach out to as many places as possible. We certainly want to make sure that we are accessible so that students can complete their coursework. We take to heart the idea of being able to prepare a student in a manner that's significant, where we're also taking stock of how long it takes for a degree to be completed, but also a credential, and to making sure that there is cohesion in the experience you're having. So we find that that work needs to happen hand in hand with not only the faculty, but also the student support service units in the college and campus at large. So at Cal State LA, one of the things we want to do with our College of Education team is to ensure that any student, whether you're a first-year student or a transfer student, you're receiving the coaching, the support, and the resources necessary to navigate semester over semester. And we also want to give you a chance to explore teacher career pathways. We sort of see that there are many ways to join and also many ways to exit, right? So if you change your mind on a credential, we want to make sure that that's accessible. We want to make sure you understand and what's in store and in stock for you when you go into the profession. So there will be field work practicums, as well as opportunities for apprenticeship and internship. And in fact, some of our partnership work is sort of moving in that direction. So Ruth, I'm glad you're here because as a partner, we want to learn from each other and work with each other. Our partnership work, those revolve around building programming. So you'll see a lot of us here. Anna and myself are going to be more present and visible. We want to make sure that whether you're in community college or at a high school, that you have folks that are ready to help, ready to answer those questions, especially at the very beginning. We want to foster that interest and curiosity. We also know that transformation comes from within, and also transformation comes as you experience and find yourself ready to learn and ready to continue to teach and learn. We want to make sure you have the wraparound services, how to connect to campus resources, events in your respective campus, workshops. I'm going to be in Antelope Valley next Saturday, for example. We also want to have liaisons and champions that we work with hand in hand. So whenever you need anything from Cal State LA, at the very end, we're going to provide our contact information. No question is too small. No question is too large. We just want you to go through that development. It's both pre-service, but also there's an aspect of leadership and professionalization. So please, I advise you, and we'll talk about some of the things we do at Cal State, but you can also do those things locally. Participate in extracurricular activities, lead those community projects, participate in service learning. Our faculty can share some of the coursework we have on that. And of course, training and development is an ongoing component.
All right, thank you, Dr. Cervantes.
I'm going to pass it over to Ana, who will now talk a little bit more of the types of pathways we have in our programs.
Yeah, so Dr. Cervantes mentioned this already, and I kind of touched on it as well. We do have several different pathways. I mean, there's a saying, you know, all roads lead to Rome. It's the same thing with teaching. There are so many different pathways that people can go through to become teachers. I mean, we have a lot of individuals that actually are career changers. They've been teaching or they've been doing something else for many years, and now they decide that they want to give back to their community, so they come back to school to pursue a teaching credential. And the career, the field itself does lend itself to support that that type of change, because you can always find ways to incorporate your knowledge within a classroom. There's, you know, I mean, psychology, you know, in teaching, you're going to be working with many different, wear different hats, I should say. So that's why there are so many different pathways. In particular, for undergraduate students, we do focus quite a bit on the pathway for undergraduate students, because we want you to be successful in the classroom, and we also want you to be successful in completing the program in a timely manner. So as far as teaching goes for undergraduate students, we have traditional credential pathways, which means that typically you will finish your bachelor's degree and come back to do the credential program. We have bilingual pathways where you can earn an added bilingual authorization, which Dr. Gonzalez will talk about in a moment. And then we also have STEM pathways, which again, Dr. Orozco will touch on as well. All these different pathways, all these different authorizations, all these areas in which you can teach are available to undergraduate students as well as post-baccalaureate students. Now, because Cal State LA firmly believes in having educators in the field as early as possible, we have And I'm sure you're all aware in your community college, in your school, you have what's called departments. You probably have divisions. Cal State LA is broken up into colleges. So we have the College of Education, the College of Arts and Letters, and all of these different colleges have teacher geared programs or teacher preparation programs. Some of these preparation programs are more attuned with what you're going to be teaching, not so much with the credential. Other programs are specifically geared towards teaching. So for instance, and we're touching a lot on urban learning. That is an undergraduate program specifically for those that are looking to become elementary school teachers or ed specialist teachers. And that program is housed in the College of Education. So a lot of what happens in that major focuses deeply in educational policies and how you can become a leader in your classroom. But we also partner with with these other 5 colleges that have teacher-geared programs to support what students are looking to pursue. So single subject, for instance, you would be looking at it's ideal for you to go through a program that is for the subject that you're looking to teach, like art, English, because you're learning the content that you're going to be teaching. Now, if you're looking to become an elementary school teacher, again, there are also different pathways through that. With urban learning in particular, we have the pathway for multiple subjects, which means that you can work from kindergarten through 8th grade in a mainstream classroom, elementary school. We also have the education specialist pathway, which means that you can teach in a mild to moderate support needs area, extensive support needs, visual impairments, and these are all from kindergarten through 8th grade. I'm sorry, kindergarten through 12th grade. Typically with ed specialist credentials, students can work with students up to 22 years of age. So it does help to have that credential because there is a huge need for that. It's one of the bigger needs, as well as our STEM pathways. In the College of Education with urban learning in particular, we have what's called a dual credential. The dual credential allows you to work in a multiple subject setting and an education specialist, mild to moderate support needs setting. You get both credentials at the same time. So you have a broader spectrum of like what you can teach. And now we're piloting the bilingual pathway, which allows you to work in multiple subjects in a multiple subject setting, but with a bilingual specialty. So you can work, it's called what's called a dual immersion setting or bilingual setting, where typically you'd be focusing or fully immersed in Spanish. We're focusing on Spanish right now, but I know we're looking to grow even more. Dr. Gonzalez will be discussing that a little bit further, but right now we are focusing on Spanish. And actually, I'm actually going to pass it over to her now to talk about that. She can share the importance of bilingual education, in particular for those of you that are coming in as undergraduates or transfer students to pursue a bilingual path.
Muchas gracias, Ana. So again, I'll be talking about the You Learn Bilingual Multiple Subject Pathway, but keep in mind, if you're not bilingual, you can still do the You Learn Multiple Subject Pathway as well. Before I go into the why we have this pathway and some of the logistics and the structure, I want to take a moment to check in with you all and see how many of you are bilingual. So if you can give me a thumbs up, some kind of emoji if you are bilingual, porfa. Okay, perfect. I see a couple different thumbs up. Now I'm going to ask you, if you're bilingual, to think about what your Spanish or your Mandarin or whatever other language you speak other than English means to you. Put that in the chat box. And also I'm going to invite you, if you're not bilingual, think about someone that's bilingual close to you, or think about a student or a future student, and think about what their bilingualism or their non-English language might mean to them. So I'll give you a couple seconds to put that in the chat box. So for instance, if I were to answer this question, I would write familia. Okay, thank you so much, Clara. Heritage and connections to roots, part of who I am. Thank you. And there's no right or wrong answer. Tradition connects to my family. Making connections with others. Connections and understanding, thank you. Okay, I wanted to start with this question to kind of ground us in the importance of promoting the bilingualism of our students, our communities, and those around us. So if we can go to the next slide, por favor. Now, again, before I go into the logistics, it's important to contextualize bilingual education and its history in California and also in the United States. So despite the US being a multilingual country, even before this was known as the United States, there's always been continuous backlashes on bilingual education. In 1998, for instance, most of California voters, including the majority of teachers, voted to dismantle bilingual education. So that put us in a almost 20-year era of schooling that was working to deslenguarnos, right? There was this push for English only as an approach to teach students bureaucratically labeled as English language learners. Thankfully, in 2016, we see that this has shifted. In 2016, Prompt 58 worked to dismantle this previous ban on bilingual education. And so what we're seeing now is that we're seeing a growth in dual language programs. We're seeing that at the state level, policy is supporting multilingualism, bilingualism, and arguing that we need to leverage the linguistic assets of our bilingual students. So there's a big promotion of the seal of biliteracy. Can you give me an emoji, a thumbs up if you maybe have the seal of biliteracy or know someone that has it? Thank you. Anna, can we go to the next slide? So one of the goals of California by 2030 is to almost double, as you'll see on the top graph, the amount of seals of biliteracy being granted at the high school level. So if we want to do this, another goal is to make sure that we have teachers that are effectively prepared to teach in dual language settings and to promote the bilingualism of students. This means that by 2030, the goal is also to double the amount of bilingual authorizations that we're granting at the state level. And with this, the goal is so that we also double the amount of dual language programs. Next slide. And so what it means to be a bilingual teacher, I'm a former elementary school dual language teacher. I worked in a 90-10 model, which means that in second grade, I was able to teach 70% of the day in Spanish and 30% of the day in English. And so what I think about what it means to be a bilingual teacher, I think about the importance of being able to embrace our students' full linguistic repertoires. Their Spanishes, their English, their Spanglishes. I know oftentimes we're told don't mix one language and another, don't blend it, but it's a reality. It's definitely a reality that we lived as bilingual individuals. It's also an opportunity for you to challenge the status quo. In our country, there's a big dominance in the English language. And by teaching in more than one language, you're able to really help your students foster their bilingualism, their biliteracy, their bicognition, being able to think and write in 2 different languages, and also their biculturalism. So helping them make sense of their bilingual identities in a place where they might not feel like they're from here, ni de aquí ni de allá, helping them feel like they are de aquí, de allá. Being a bilingual educator also allows you to create puentes with the comunidad, because as a bilingual teacher, you're able to more easily communicate with a lot of parents that maybe wouldn't feel comfortable communicating with a monolingual English speaking teacher. And considering that currently 80% of our teacher population is white monolingual English speaking, it really helps in connecting with those familias and our comunidades. I'm not gonna lie, it is difficult, but it is also very rewarding work because you get to see how you prepare your students and help them embrace their bilingualism, biliteracy, bicognition. And then as I was showing in the previous graphs with the goals for Global California 2030, there's a huge need for bilingual teachers. There's a huge interest in growing the programs, but right now we don't have enough teachers, bilingual teachers, to meet the demands. So there is going to be the added market value. If you're bilingual and you prepare yourself to become a bilingual educator, it is going to look better for sure in your resume. Next slide, Anna. Okay, so going to the logistics and the structure of the program, The ULearn Bilingual Multiple Subject Pathway, it's kind of like a braiding of different components. You're able to attain your bachelor's degree in urban learning, a multiple subject credential to our ITEP program, integrated teacher education. I'm forgetting what the P1 stands for. And also you're able to also earn your bilingual authorization. You take your general education elementary subject matter content, and then you take your major coursework for your credential prerequisites. You take credential coursework and early field work through those methods courses. And then through this pathway, we encourage students to complete their fieldwork and also their student hours in a dual language bilingual classroom setting so that you get to experience what it is like to teach and for students to learn in more than one language. Currently, this pathway is 4 to 5 years, 4.5 to 5 years for FOSH students. Later, maybe Anna and Agustin can chime in on for transfer students how this would look like. Okay, so Anna had mentioned before that this is a pilot program. This is our 3rd semester piloting a bilingual pathway through the ITEP, right? We do have the multiple subject. And so what we're doing with this piloting is really braiding. We're braiding ULearn, which at its foundation is about preparing teachers to be able to implement cultural and linguistic relevant pedagogies within their classrooms. And we're also braiding ethnic studies and bilingual education. At the core of the ULearn program is to prepare our students to understand ethnic studies pedagogies and to work towards transforming education. Another goal of this program is to strengthen students' Español pedagógico. Oftentimes, those of us that are bilingual, that were schooled in their English only, are sometimes insecure about our language abilities in Spanish. We often feel like el español de nuestros papás o el español de la casa o el español de nuestros padres que sea de rancho is not valid. And so what we're trying to center in these courses and through this pathway is that all of our Spanishes are valid. It's just about adding that pedagogical Spanish so that we know how to use the language of schooling in Spanish. For instance, ones that I always highlight to students like retroalimentación, which means feedback in English. I didn't know that, how do you say that previously to being in bilingual education and learning all these terms in Spanish. In terms of programmatic components, it's an acceleration to credential and bilingual added authorization, since it's the major in the 3 components previously described. We're also working on recruiting bilingual students early on through this pathway. So they begin to see themselves, if you're interested in a career in teaching, so that you begin to see yourself as a bilingual educator. We're also, like I mentioned, encouraging the dual language fieldworks and placements. Next one, Anna. Okay, so it's a little bit long, but I'm going to give you an overview of the visión for this bilingual pathway that I've been highlighting. La visión del bilingual pathway in CalState LA es de preparar a estudiantes bilingües to become bilingual teachers and to advocate for reclaiming the ancestral and intergenerational linguistic practices of communities. A través del bilingual pathway, la meta is to embrace students' full linguistic repertoires and ways of being, thinking, feeling, al crear espacios donde los estudiantes puedan translinguar, while simultaneously building on their español pedagógico. Reconocemos que hay varias formas de hablar el español, multiple Spanishes, y que las múltiples formas en las que nos comunicamos son válidas. Working with a conciencia crítica, rechazamos la hegemonía del inglés y las pólizas de English only y de monolingüismo que por muchos años, a través de la colonización y la formación del Estado, han oprimido a nuestras comunidades. Trabajaremos para crear programas de doble inmersión, educación bilingüe, donde la justicia racial y lingüística sean una prioridad. So what I want to highlight is that through this bilingual pathway, what we're working on is to decenter English from institutionally, but also from our lived realities. And we also want to create spaces where we model for teacher candidates what it's like to create culturally relevant, cultural linguistic spaces where you can translanguaging. And translanguage means, for instance, my reality of going back and forth between Spanish and English. We're trying to create spaces within the classroom where you can have the flexibility of doing that. Next one, Anna. Okay, and so for instance, these are some of the courses that are part of the bilingual pathway. So you would take your major courses, and then once you apply to the credential program, you could take part of a lot of these methods courses, but with the Spanish focus, bilingual focus. So these are some of the prereqs that we have, some of the methods, and then the core bilingual added authorization. If you're interested in becoming a high school teacher, getting a single subject, you can also, and you're bilingual, you can also add a bilingual added authorization to your credential. At Cal State LA, you would just take the last 2 courses, which are EDCI 5560 is a course focused on biliteracy methods. How do we teach students to read and write in more than one language? And how do we lesson plan around that? And then 5570, which is about problematizing the social political, social historical, social cultural reality of bilingual education in relation to policy. It's really a course focused on advocacy for bilingual ed. Next one, Anna. And a couple of the testimonials of what our students have to share. These testimonials are from students that started the bilingual pathway 2 semesters ago. One student said, "I feel like a part of home is with me. Being able to be part of the You Learn Bilingual pathway makes my experience as a student feel more comfortable, and then I can identify with something." Another student mentioned, "My experience has been empowering. I feel more comfortable and confident with speaking, expressing, and writing in both languages. Most importantly, I feel reconnected with my language. If my experience has been this positive, I can only imagine the difference we can make when we embrace all aspects of being bilingual and the impact we can create on our students and familias." So if you're bilingual, definitely consider taking the bilingual education, bilingual pathway route, and I'll stick around in case you have any other questions later. Gracias.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. We're going to pass it on to Dr. Orozco.
Hi, everybody. Just to bridge a little bit on the bilingual program and math education, this is some of the things that we have done to ensure that the bilingual pathway also is supported in all methods courses. But thank you for being here. It's 29 of us here in this room. And so if we could go to the next slide. I'd like to begin, actually the next one. Thank you. I'd like to begin by sharing with you that we need you, that we need math and science teachers in ways that we didn't expect, maybe. But if you read this following paragraph, we know that we're going to need approximately 33,000 science and math teachers in the next decade or so. We are not keeping up with the need in California, which means two good things for us who are trying to become teachers. One is that the job prospects are going to be very strong, right? So it's very likely that you're going to be able to find a job with little to no effort. And you would just come to me if you need help doing that. I hear from high school principals all the time who are like, "Do you have someone who's ready to finish, who's finishing this year? Just send them to me," things like that. So if you have a passion for math or a passion for science, I'm not saying if you're ready to teach math or science, that's going to be our job, right? Even if it's a tiny interest, just let us know because we definitely need you. So before we move forward, I'd like to ask you if you can put in the chat if math or science is in your top 5 favorite subjects. So it's math or science in your top 5 favorite subjects.
Does that include ourselves?
Yeah, sure. We have some math interest. Yay, awesome. All right. It's in my top 5 too. So we have a couple of people, saying yes, no, for some it's not, right? So even if there's this tiny, small interest, we have some supports for you here at Cal State LA. So let me go ahead and go to the next slide. So what can we offer? Because we don't just want you to come here and just leave us with, or struggle or just leave. We want to make sure that you come here, that you feel supported, that you have a clear pathway to becoming a high school math or science teacher, and that you stay in the profession, because the more teachers that we can keep in the profession, then the less that we get in trouble, right, with this huge shortage that we have. So one, we offer funding, and I'll cover a couple of funding programs that we have so that you can cover tuition, but then you can also cover other activities that we need in teacher preparation programs that sometimes may not be as accessible, like attending conferences, professional development opportunities, and just resources that you may need in the process of becoming a high school math or science teachers. Dr. Cervantes talked a little bit about collaborations already that we have with high schools to ensure that we have meaningful opportunities for field work, right? So we have collaborations with the math department, we have collaborations with the different science departments, so that we can ensure that you are placed in spaces that are gonna offer you like the best ways to be a math or science teacher, or to do mathematics, or to do science, right, as we often do. We definitely provide experiences that include professional development experiences, but then also opportunities to collaborate with your peers, to grow with your peers, so that you are always part of a community and not just getting a credential, but that you feel that you understand that you are part of a larger community that will forever provide support. Next one. So let me talk a little bit about the type of funding that we have available for math and science prospective teachers. One is through the Math and Science Teacher Initiative. And Math and Science Teacher Initiative is a CSU-wide effort to increase support for those who are going to become math or science teachers. At Cal State LA, we offer every student in our secondary math and science credential programs up to $8,000 to cover the classes, whether they're subject matter classes, math or science, or the credential program classes, right? You may also use some of those funds for test processing fees, right? Like the CSET, the CBEST, that you have to take in order to be credentialed. We also offered funding through the Teacher Recruitment Project for professional development. A lot of the professional development we do in-house, so we have math and science professional development for pre-service and in-service teachers, and they're all designed and co-created with professors from here, from Cal State LA, and current high school teachers, right, that know exactly what it feels like, what it looks like to be teaching either math or science. If you are interested in any of this, you can share with some of your friends and just have them reach out to me. We have 2 more sessions going on this semester, one this Saturday and one the Saturday after. We also offer test prep workshops for those who do not have a degree in either mathematics or science. You can still add a credential. You can still do the credential program or do an added authorization if you're in the multiple subject credential program. And in that case, you have to pass the CSET for whatever subject you're trying to teach. So if you're trying to teach mathematics, then you have to pass the CSET for mathematics. And we offer those workshops here on campus, free of charge, right? So The travel grants include attending professional development conferences. We have different opportunities to do that, locally. And if you're going to present, let's say at a conference with your professors or on your own, we reserve some of the funds to support you with that, because we know how important that is. And there may be some professional development that you may benefit from while you're in the credential program, so we can offer that. The last one, right, is just support with making sure that you complete your FAFSA and that you have, answered any questions regarding that. So major ones, we can remember those two. So before I ask if there are, before we go to the next slide, let me ask if there are any questions, or if there's anybody whose interest is piqued just hearing about this. And if you would maybe even like there's a tiny percent that you would want to switch everything and just become a high school math or science teacher. Or I might want to consider, I'm going to use any opportunity to recruit students because there's a huge need.
And just to add on to Dr. Orozco, it would be great for you all to have an idea now if you want to go into math, but there's also ways to add these authorizations in the future. We are happy to share that information, of course. But please, if you are interested, even if it's a little tiny bit, you're intrigued by teaching math or science, please add it to the chat or just a thumbs up if that's easiest.
Yeah, that too.
And I would say,
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to add respectfully that I think one of the things that whether you have immediate interest or not is knowing that at Cal State LA, because you just heard examples of how we're grounded in community, something that perhaps might feel scary, overwhelming, not familiar, or not your cup of tea, can actually be a cup of tea if introduced to you in a different way, or introduced to you by someone that can actually connect with you. And I'd like to say that that's one of the things that makes us different. Your panelists here is a combination of staff members and faculty members grounded in community that work in unison and that take stock of what our students are experiencing. The reason we're here is because we would like you to know that you're not just finishing a program on your lonesome, figuring it out. We're going to provide you with onboarding orientation. You're going to get to meet people. You're going to get to explore the careers, but more importantly, you're going to be guided both in and out of the classroom so that you can finish your program respectively. Beyond the two programs you heard, which are clear examples of things you can do in the multiple and single subject program, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention we also have special education programs here at Cal State LA. We know that that is a huge need in our community as well. Understand that what we're trying to do is build the skills and faculties within students to empower them to then transform communities. And we want to ensure that we're doing that the right way. And the right way is by making sure all of you feel that you have a home. And for us, Cal State LA can be that home for you. So the why of our work and the why we're presenting is to ensure that you know that this is going to be a good transition, and it'll be a transition that's supported in and out of the classroom.
I just want to add one more thing for Dr. Orozco very quickly. And actually not just for Dr. Orozco, but also for the education specialist path. I do see some people including like, oh, I'm unsure. It's really good for us to know your hesitations also. So if you are interested but are hesitant, please include that hesitancy in the chat. That way we know, or Dr. Orozco can figure out how she can support you better. So thank you, Leslie, for including that on there. That really does help us also. And yeah, so we're gonna move over to our, I think Dr. Orozco, you have one activity.
If there is time, I wanted to finish. I wanted to make sure I had enough time, but I noticed Dr. Cervantes is moving to the Y, and I'm okay with that too, because I know we're gonna close up soon.
Yeah, we're coming to like we're nearing the end. So let's actually, yeah, we can move on to the Y, and then we have.
I apologize if I jumped the gun.
No, we're good. We're good.
Okay,
But we are running a little bit. We also want to be mindful of our guest time. So the why, Dr. Cervantes did share a few of our whys. So why Cal State LA? We are a team. We work together to support students. Why grow your own, right? That's the title of our presentation. Why is it grow your own? We want students that are willing and interested in going back to their communities and supporting the individual that they can see themselves in, the students that they can see themselves in as children. The students that maybe would be overlooked because they're not getting the support that they need. So that's why we are, that's why we do what we do. That's a little bit about what we as staff, as faculty, that's why we do what we do. And we talked about all the different paths. Why do we have so many paths? Like I said earlier, there are so many ways to get into teaching because we have students that they're coming out of high school that already know what they want to teach, which is great. Those students are going to go through one path and they're going to get to the same goal or the same place that somebody who has already been out of school for 20 years and now wants to go back to teaching. So that's why we have so many paths. And I think it's important for everyone to know that everybody has their own journey. We're all on our own separate journey, no matter what, no matter whether you start with your friend. If you start here as a first year and you're starting with your friend who is going in the same direction as you, that doesn't mean that you're going to be following each other's roadmap or each other's program. It can change. So it's important for all to know that. The other reason why we have so many pathways is because we know that there is also a need in different areas. We have a need in math for sure. We know that we have a dire need in STEM. We also know there's a dire need in specialist settings. Those pathways, we know that you can add these different authorizations so that you can go back and support students in all those different areas. That's also why we have the bilingual authorization and why there are two paths to get the bilingual authorization at this time. There are multiple paths, but at least at Cal State LA, there are two at this time. So it's really good for you all to kind of conceptualize that as well and to understand that there are, that you are in your own journey. And that's why we're here. That's why we want to support you in all the different areas that we can. I think, Dr. Orozco, I think we can go back to the. I want to give students a chance for questions also, or participants chance for questions, but I think we can go back to your activity very quickly.
Yeah, if I always want people to be doing math, so I just wanted to play one round of this famous game we called 5 Steps to Zero. So I'm gonna give you a number. If you're ready, put on your mathematics thinking caps. And here are the rules. I'm going to give you a number. You have to use 5 steps from that number to get to 0. But in each step, you have to include only one operation. So let's say I start with 20 and I say minus 5. That's one operation, right? That's one step. So you can only add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Don't tell me you got the square root of this and that. So add, subtract, multiply, or divide. And then you can only use integers from 1 to 9 in each step. So let's say you start with 4, and then you say plus 1.5, and you can't. You can only use integers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and you cannot use 0. Right? You can't say, oh, multiply by 0, times 0, and that's it. So you can't use 0. So 1 through 9. You cannot use negative numbers or any numbers greater than 9. So we'll keep the rules right here. And I'm going to have you get started with number 17. So the number is 17. You can use the chat or you can unmute yourself when you are ready to tell me your 5 steps to get from 17 to 0. No rush. We have a whole 2 or 3 minutes to do this. 5 steps to 0. Tell me when you're ready, or tell us when you're ready. It's not a trick question, Anna. Do it. I know for one of my presentations, you were asking me way after the presentation, hey, you got to tell me about this.
Yes, I know. I am not very good at math. And
You're
I will admit
awesome.
that.
You
I'm
are
good
so
at a lot of other things. I'll say that.
yeah. We just have different conceptions for explaining what being good at math means. All right, who's ready? Who's gonna tell us? Brisa, so we go 17, and then the first step is minus 1. Am I correct? And then you got 16 from there. And then is the next step divide by 2? Okay, great. So then that's going to give us 8. And then you're dividing by 2 again. That's 3 steps, which is going to give us 4. And then you have minus 2, which is 4 steps. And then minus 2 again, which is 5 steps. And then we got to 0. Love it. Awesome. Who has another one? Let's do one more. Agustin, you got 17 plus 3 gives us 20. That's 1 step. Then you divide by 4, gives us 5. That's 2 steps. Then you multiply by 2. That's 3 steps, gives us 10. And then you subtract 8, which gives us 2. And then you subtract 2, gets us to 0. That is awesome. Vero, did you do it? Vero, I want you to tell me yours, and I want you to tell me in Spanish.
I need a couple more minutes. I started, but then stayed at 100. Like, well, I need to subtract minus 100. Te digo, 17 menos 1, 16 más 4, luego fue 20, 20 por 5, luego fue 100, y 100 menos 100, 0.
No, we have only digits 1 through 9. So maybe
Okay,
reconsider
again.
When you stop at 20, go from there.
Oh, okay.
Because you only get 5 steps and you can only use 1 through 9. Thank you. Would anybody else like to share? I mean, we got 3, so I think we're good. And maybe just open it for questions. And I think that was going to be the last thing.
Yeah, so we are going to open it up for questions. We did cover quite a bit of information. So if you all, if anyone has questions, whether it's for us or for the faculty, about the programs, about our, about Cal State LA admission, I know we have quite a few potentially transfer students very soon. And I know we have one student that's coming in as a transfer that's looking to become a CK3, an early childhood educator. Know that is also another path that we are opening up. Actually, we didn't speak about that one yet because the commission is still opening up that credential. So we're still working on offering that credential. That'll come, and I think Dr. Cervantes, you can confirm this, but I think it's coming in 2024, 2025. So for those of you that are looking to become early childhood educators in a general ed setting, which means that you can work in preschool to 3rd grade, that is also coming. And you can also do the bilingual authorization. You can also do add different authorizations with that as well, so that it will be coming very soon as well. Let's see here. And I'm going through the chat just so you all know. You have individuals who are coming back. Like I mentioned this earlier, we do have different pathways. So we have someone coming back from a different career. The one thing that I would also add, as far as like earning credentials, is you don't necessarily have to have a specific degree to become a credentialed teacher. So if you have, although it helps to have certain degrees for subject matter purposes, you can also add these different authors, the credentials with a psychology degree, with a sociology degree. It'll just take additional steps. And again, part of the grow your own teacher pathways is that we have all these different, that you can also do this with other credentials or with other degrees. Let's see. Oh, I think, is Ruth still in the room? I think she is, right?
I'm still here. I'm direct messaging her.
Okay. Okay, good. I was
Keep
gonna
going.
say let me actually, I'm gonna move over to our contact information. Please, if you can't think of any questions now or you are too shy to ask here, please contact us via email. As Agustin always says this, and this is very true, no question is too small. Please ask. We are happy to help. That's what we do, right? That's what we're here for, as educators, as just anyone that's working in education. We're here to help in any way we can. So please reach out to us. We can help. We can talk about your transfer pathways or your own journey, right? If what you're planning on doing as an educator or what credential you're looking to pursue, because there are so many different options for everyone. Thank you all for being here. Have a great rest of the session, and we will see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for attending. Really appreciate this. Thank you from the team from Cal State LA. Thank you very much. Don't forget to come to our closing session tonight. We have a great speaker. We have swag. We're going to celebrate all of our success. So see you later this afternoon. Wonderful to see you all interested in teaching, and go for the credential. And if you had it my way, you'd all go for the dual and special ed. So, thank you all so much.
Thank you so much.
I agree, Ruth. I think that's a really good option right now for everyone.
All right.